Okay, and now Maria, you're going to count to 30, and then I'm going and then you can start.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Maria Gillen. I'm so glad to welcome you here to our Zoom PLR reading, or the first section of the Zoom PLR reading. I want to say that I have some thanks to give first to Smita Desai and Susan Balak, without whom I couldn't have done this because I'm technologically ignorant. And so they really get this together and set it up and do all the things that I am not so good at. So I'm really grateful to the two of them who have helped enormously during this pandemic and taken on a lot of extra work while I've been sick too. So that's one thing. The other thing is I'd like to thank the New Jersey State Council for the Arts, the Department of State for their funding, and I'd like to thank all the donors to the Poetry Center who have given money to support the center. And I would also like to thank Dr. Stephen Rose, who has been extremely supportive of the work of the Poetry Center and of all the cultural affairs programming that we do. So I'm very grateful for that. And none of this could happen without all these people working together. Today, I'm going to start. I know that many of you know that Laura Boss has been sick, so she's not feeling so great today, but she wanted to be with us, and she really is not so strong right now. And so she asked me if I would read her poem. Now, I can't read her poem the way she reads it. It would be much funnier if she read it, but I will read it and I will do the best I can. Laura's poems stand on their own, and I'm just happy to be able to do this for her until she's strong enough. The most beautiful man I ever saw. The most beautiful man I ever saw was Robert Redford. It was in the mid-70s, and he was lounging against a column inside the entrance of Madison Square Garden where the Knicks were playing that night, though I don't remember who they were playing. I didn't really like basketball, but my husband did and had season tickets for this team that was a star team that year. And it was not unusual to see Woody Allen and Diane Keaton sitting in the stands, as well as other celebrities who were regulars that winning season. I was wearing my favorite slenderizing one-piece navy knit with its belt at my hips and its bell-bottom pants. I was walking between my husband and his best friend, Marty, also our internist, whose wife did not like basketball and fortunately found an excuse not to go. I noticed Robert Redford as we walked through, noticed how he was staring at me, how he slowly looked me up and down with his incredible sultry eyes. And I was thrilled to have him do this, but knew enough not to say anything about it to my husband. But Marty said, Larry, did you see the way Robert Redford kept staring at Laura? My husband said he hadn't noticed. I wonder if Robert Redford did this often to other women as they walked by. I wonder what would happen if I walked away from my husband and Marty and up to Robert Redford and said, want to leave? But of course, there was no way I could ever have done this. And I had a practical side. I had children at home. I had a decent husband. And if I had followed my impulse and walked up to Robert Redford, the most beautiful man I had ever seen, he probably would have started to run for the door as fast as Walt Frazier would later sprint down the basketball court. Laura, the wonderful poem, and I'm sorry that I can't read it the way you would read it, but I hope it was good enough. And that you're happy to be here with us and that you're getting better and better. I'm going to, Barbara, I don't know if it was Barbara Crooker or Barbara Daniels. Who was it? Barbara Crooker. Her husband is ill right now, so she asked if she could read near the beginning. So I'm going to have her read Barbara Crooker is from Foldsville, Pennsylvania, and she's going to read the first poem. Please, no introductions, just read the poem.
American Robin. Here's that bird again, launching from the rhododendron, banging his forehead on my living room window. Thump, thump. Does he see his own reflection in the glass, or does he see a rival, a threat to his nest? I hang a black raptor silhouette in the middle square, but that does not deter him. Knock yourself out, I keep thinking. Next, I try cardboard, then a sheet of newspaper smeared with its terrible news. He comes back. Do I admire him for his persistence or shrug at his stupidity? Thunk, thunk. Today, I read how fast the glaciers are melting, the seas are rising, the Amazon is on fire. We know it needs to be done, but won't do it, and no amount of warning seems to make us change our course. Up ahead, the hard reckoning, the implacable glass plate.
Thank you very much, Barbara. I'm going to also say that if you have more than one poem, you can't read more than, you have to pick one poem, okay? Because we don't have time for people to read more than one poem. Sorry. Our next reader is going to be Joe Weil from Binghamton, New York. I don't know if he's here yet. Joe?
He's not here yet, Maria.
All right. Our next reader, I saw her, is Jen Beatty, and I love her, and let's welcome Jen Beatty from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. No, unmute yourself, Jen.
Thanks, Maria. This is called My Father Flying. The year after my father died, I walked around to his places, not the cemetery, but to his people. The Texaco, where he took his old Ford Fairlane for repair, 1/2 mile from the house. I lugged 2 6-packs around city to the mechanics. Chuck, just out of high school, and older Joe, his round belly hanging over his belt. So big, he rested it on the cars like a second body. We told stories until the beer was gone. I walked into my father's VFW, Elmer J. Zeiler post number 512, said I was my father's daughter. Good man, the old bartender said. The two slumped over vets at the bar, bobbed their heads, and raised their beers. After that, I saw my father flying in the trees by the old roads, a glimpse, a wind shudder in the red maple, while everyday people kept walking behind the shopping center. A white patch in the December branches. I'd pull over and look and knew he lived in the bends and curves, the familiar sky, everywhere. That was the year I looked up. In that year after, he was living everywhere. Thanks.
Wonderful, Jan. Thank you very much. Our next reader is James Daniels, and he's also from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I don't know if he's here because I can't figure this.
Yes, I'm here, Maria. And
Oh,
here's
good.
my poem. Cleverness.
And would you read your poem, please, Jim?
Yes, I'm okay. Cleverness can be tiresome, a snack that leaves you hungrier. I went through all my knickknacks, but only kept the knacks. See what I mean? My grandparents' house in Detroit had push-button light switches. When I find myself in some ancient house with those switches, I push a button to take me back to the drafty kitchen on Bennett Street, my grandmother licking her thin, sweet hanky to wipe my face. Go ahead and make fun of her, lumpy Irish potato and her faded, flowery sack. Cleverness is lost on those with no memory. At the end, she sometimes still pulled my name out of the air like that scented hanky. Cold in the house, but still, she melted there. Go ahead, make fun of me, madly pushing buttons. After she died, my brother moved in with my grandfather. He turned on a lamp and burned down the house. His wife had kicked him out for screwing around. Cleverness lost on those with nowhere else to go. Anyone who says money is no object lies. Money always an object. Smoke damage, not a metaphor. Get out the smelling salts for cleverness. The poorly wired world. My grandfather was an electrician. Cleverness is lost on those who are shamed. Cleverness is not lost on those who blame. I gave my brother all the cash I had, and he bought WrestleMania tickets for the whole family. They needed that kind of clarity.
Oh, Jim, wonderful. You never disappoint. I do love my taste. I have to say, I think I love my magazine and I love all you guys. Next, we'll welcome Paul Mariani from Montague, Massachusetts, and I hope he's here because I can't quite figure out a way to see if he is. Is he here? Okay, if not, we'll go to Kevin Carey. I see him from Manchester, Massachusetts.
Learning to talk. I breathe, resist the urge to lecture. 1, 2, 3. He doesn't understand that I understand, or maybe I don't really. We cry, explain ourselves, and I feel lucky for a moment. His shoulders cradled in my arms. Not so different from a few years ago when he lay on my chest in the shade of the cypress trees at the beach. It's because I love you, I say, and it sounds honest, but inadequate. And it brings us back to the fact that he is 17 and I am 52, and that gap can't always be filled with wisdom or advice or memory.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful, Kevin. Thank you very much. Next, R.G. Evans. I'm sure I saw him before, I think. R.G. Evans is from Elmer, New Jersey. R.G., are you there?
I am here, Maria. Thank you.
Okay, darling. Could you read the poem, please?
The Year in Goodbyes. Poor Father Time. Every year kicks his ass. He comes in fresh with his little sash, like a best baby contest winner, but leaves broken and bearded, turning his hunched back on the babe sent in to take his place. That's all we ever see, the coming, the going, the geezer and the babe. What of the rest of the year? The toddler in February playing catch with Cupid's darts. The whining schoolboy of March praying the longest month will end. The horny lad of spring flirting with April and May. But he's more than just the calendar. Like us, all his lives are different. He can feel a month's headlines in his arthritic knees. Global news gives him lumbago. And oh, what some elections do to his hemorrhoids. When the whole thing winds down, top 10 lists, the year in review and in goodbyes, he looks back as well at that apple-cheeked cherub born in ignorance and hope, still able to dream without meds. There's a knock at New Year's door. On the other side, the new babe is waiting. Some tongues, he knows, have the same word for hello. How easily he thinks that sash could become a garrote. He and the innocent exchange a glance, one of them suddenly lost in translation.
Wonderful, Robert, R.G., sorry. Next is Raymond Hammond. Is Raymond there? Beacon, New York.
Hey, Marie, I'm here.
Oh, good, darling. Thanks. Read your poem.
At a produce market, and the epigraph is a man of no fortune with a name with a name to come, from Canto 1. After 20 years of being a cop, I am closer to that dangerous place where one gets written out of the plot line for sympathy and effect as the one who dies within days of his retirement. To this point, I would have been the hero, the one who made things right, sought the revenge. I never wanted to be the avenged. I never wanted to be the soldier who dies in the background of the hero, the one nameless, voiceless, without purpose other than to exist in a few frames. I never wanted to stand in the crowd or be a bit bartender, passerby, the thug you know will die without a line. the horror of becoming another skull in a crowded crypt under a church in France, stacked like melons at a produce market.
Wonderful. Thanks, Raymond. The next is Julia Lisella, Medford, Massachusetts. Julia, are you there?
I am here. Hi,
You're
Maria.
there.
I'm going to read my poem. It's called My Ithaca, and it's written for my mom, Giovanna Calabro Lisella. And it starts with an epigraph from Cavafy's Ithaca, translated by Daniel Mendelsohn. Here's the epigraph. And if you find her poor, Ithaca did not deceive you. As wise as you'll have become with so much experience, you'll have understood by then what these Ithacas mean. My Ithaca. I close my eyes to see the dark tarred road, the steep decline all sand blown and stony. My thin legs spin faster beneath me as I run, more than my body can control. Falling hard, contact, knees sliding, scraping, bleeding. Then your hands firm around my calves and the cold peroxide gleaming and bubbling. Later or days later, we settle onto our spots on the beach, your body gripped in its latex suit, the flowered bathing cap encircling your face. Goddess. I liked watching the flapping petals of that helmet. We had entered the water together, you magically, your feet bound by the rubber swimming slippers, felt no pain. Back then, I am your daughter, certain of my place, watching the sun envelop you. You've prayed the prayer of Ithaca all your life, the return, the journey, a good one. You too remember holding my hand? I think you can, but I am not sure. Now in bed, when your eyes close, my hands warm your cool skin. If you are my Ithaca, who is yours? The sister, the favorite brother, the brilliant blue-eyed husband. I want to say you see me there too, will see me, catch me, the thin brown girl. The speed of light that joins all time. You squeeze back, say, oh. What of the body reveals itself in that small sound? What one-eyed monster, what terrible storm that could ever frighten you? Thank you.
Wonderful, Julia. I know your mother. She's indomitable. Jane Albertison from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, is also one of the first graduate students I had at SUNY Binghamton. And I just am so proud of her and love her so much. And it's wonderful to see her. I haven't seen her since she graduated. So, and she's teaching at the University of Puerto Rico. So Jane, let's welcome Jane Albertison.
Boogie Nights, September 2017. The dark does not swallow me whole. It begins slow at the feet, then crawling its way up, phosphorus against fin or bone, infrared to obsidian. The dark moves like lava, criminal and shameless, feeling up my thick thighs. The monster takes, then tells me to lie still, reminds me it is only water that drowns. It hums a rotten music, offers last goodbyes. It does not pray to our beloved lost swimming rivers or living rooms. It does not console as it travels into uterine reaches. It occupies, shoves like a one-night stand, leaves its fingerprints in the mold gathering along walls. By day, we try to trick the sky, line roads like refuse in the midday sun, We are wavelengths gathering hope in the shape of photons. We want our skins to illuminate like hurricane lanterns, if only to shine in God's neglectful mouth or on the neighborhood's evening news. No difference. Sleepless, we all fly in on Batwing. In the final accounting, what's to count? A marauder avoids our dark, visits only by day, searching for cash and gold teeth. From the hurricane bandstand, that man misspells us, says we are hardly examples, barely dead. He points to our lewd little damage, broken fences, silver sea of debris. Turning to the crowd, he says, there's nothing to see, and then into the air tosses a little bounty. Thank you.
Wonderful, Jane. Great to see you again. I love you, kid. You're not a
miss you.
kid anymore, though, but anyway, neither am I. Next is Amanda J. Bradley from Beacon, New York. And let's welcome Amanda. She's here, I know,
Yes.
somewhere.
Anecdote of the letter. The letter lay on the kitchen counter of a 2-story house in a neighborhood in suburbia in Middle America. My mother put it there after collecting the mail at the end of the concrete driveway from a stately box secured on a wooden stake with morning glories climbing the wood like a trellis. That letter encroached on my days, wrought a wild havoc. The contents did not matter so much as the fact of it, as my mother sensed in the way I inherited from her when I burst into tears just knowing you'd written to me.
Wonderful, Amanda. Great, thank you. And our next reader is Amy Barone from New York, New York. And let's welcome Amy. She's here, isn't she? I saw her.
Here I am. Okay.
Yeah, I can't see you,
Right.
but you're there. I know.
I'm here.
Okay, read your poem, honey.
Charm bracelet. A tiny ruby chip marks the date of her wedding on a 14-karat gold calendar for July 57. 3 facial silhouettes etched with her girls' names and birth dates. A Christmas tree decorated with red, pink, and blue jeweled balls. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge, her monogram on the back. She was never one to waste space. A big round smoky topaz in a stunning gold setting, fit for a queen. A scene of Athens' Parthenon, a place she'd never visited and I dreamed of seeing. The number of her first homeroom, HRS 30 at Chester High School. A tiny gold music box that plays I'll See You in My Dreams. Thank you.
Wonderful, honey. Let's welcome Bruce Bennett. Is he here? I can't see him, but oh, there he is. Okay, under visiting writers. I had a feeling that was you, but I'm blind, so it's kind of difficult for me to tell. Bruce Bennett is from Aurora, New York. No, you have to unmute yourself, Bruce. We can't hear you.
Okay, here we go. Got me now?
Start over. Yeah.
Okay. We all know, and many of us love cats, but we also know they are sometimes a problem. This is a sonnet called Casualties of Nature. I take the headless chipmunk to the compost. It does no good to castigate the cat. It's just another casualty of nature. I know there's nothing novel about that. I know it does no good to harbor anger. She rubs against my legs. She wants to please. I tell her no, and I refuse to pet her, reduced to petty actions such as these. Well, what am I to do? I cannot change things, and yet I won't pretend that I approve. It is not in my power to rearrange things. They just go on, resistless in their groove, mindless and heartless, destined to appall. She rubs again. I pet her, after all. Thank you.
Wonderful, Bruce.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Charles W. Bryce, excuse me, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we're glad to welcome Charles Bryce. And I saw him 2 minutes ago.
This is called The Wish. It starts with an epigraph from Jim Harrison. What good is a wish that can't be told, that was wished to anger those who won't hear it? I throw a coin into Trevi Fountain, make a wish that's immediately denied. I hear Daphne, a gynecologist from Kansas, insist that her kids could construct a better fountain out of Legos. Next day, she gazes at St. Peter's, dismisses this paragon of artistic achievement as too busy. I thank Dionysus that I have drunk my life quota and am too old to visit tavernas in the Roman night with Daphne, her emasculated, though pleasant husband, Bart, our teenage son, Ariel, and Philip, a contractor from Denver who is 30 years old, going on 18. After a few beers, Philip, a season ticket holder for the Denver Broncos, grants my wish. He listens in alcoholic wonder as Daphne cackles, all athletes make too much money. Teachers and doctors, says Daphne, should make the big bucks. They save lives and form the future. Philip, whom the nuns told he'd go blind if he masturbated, and who reverently inquired whether he could do it until he needed glasses. Philip grins at this blathering physician and says, I hate to break the news, lady, but 60,000 people will never crowd into a stadium and pay money to watch you do a pap smear.
Very good, Charlie. The next is Chris Butters from Brooklyn, New York. Chris, would you read your poem? I have
Yeah.
to find him.
The Cup. My mother calls to tell me her doctor says she has emphysema and 7 years to live. I'm dying, she says, panic-stricken. Later, I tell this to my father in Florida. 7 years? What is she worried about? Someone at 75 would give their right arm to have 7 years to live. After wishing her well, he hangs up, laughing. And there, in a nutshell, you have the story of their relationship. Its twists and turns, its ups and downs. They're 20 years together in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey, which had no lake, or Indians for that matter. The Lenni Lenape having been driven off years before. How it seemed as good a place as any after the soup lines of the Great Depression and the bombs of World War II. How the sun rose every day over the warehouse next to the field where us kids played baseball after school as the soap operas unfolded and the 5 o'clock whistle blew and the marriage curiously foundered. She wanted to write books like Somerset Maugham. He wanted her to be the girl he taught in high school forever. The honeymoon in June, the years that flew, the crushing routines, the burning dreams, the saga of raising us all on a teacher's paycheck. The front they presented to the world, the knight in shining armor educator, the adoring bride, if soon to be beleaguered housewife, the splendor and the muck they encountered in that fixer-upper house of theirs, the tender times, the searing arguments, the sex like glue, the total mystery of the human heart, the light, the dark, their endless ancient debate over whether the cup was half empty or half full.
Wonderful. Our next reader is Claire Brown, and from Boonton, New Jersey. Let's welcome Claire, and I know I saw her before. She's here somewhere.
I'm sorry, my dog was barking.
That's okay.
Prayer. Saying grace, we prayed for deliverance. A hand stayed, a shout muffled. We held our hands palm to palm, pointing to a deafened sky. We bowed our heads, reciting quickly as if the dinner of slob and gruel would speed by. The mouth wouldn't spit venom, the hand greasy with food, preoccupied. Heaven didn't exist. Hell scooped us in forks, knives, and spoons. Thank you.
Wonderful, Claire. Okay, the next is Joan E Bauer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Joan Bauer, are you there?
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
Yes.
good. Hi, Joan.
Hi there. La Lupa. Please don't retouch my wrinkles. It took me so long to earn them. Anna Mariani. Strange to feel so drawn these days to the she-wolf, the wild rose of Italian cinema. Mariani, abandoned by her unmarried mother, grew up a big boned girl with fierce eyes in the slums of Rome, sang in tawdry nightclubs with that low and earthy contralto. Over the years, she'd play Ennui's Medea, Brecht's Mother Courage, O'Neill's Anna Christie. She'd throw spaghetti at Roberto Rossellini before, or maybe after, he threw her aside for Ingrid Bergman. When her only son, Luca, was stricken with polio, she worked like a donkey in every film she could to provide for him. She complained everyone saw her as some sullen, lonely Electra, but she loved being Anna Mariani, laughing, joking through it all. In The Rose Tattoo, 1955, with Burt Lancaster, who did not impress her, she plays a widowed seamstress, undone by grief, then revived by passion for Lancaster's dumb trucker. Tennessee Williams gave her the line, "He has the body of my husband and the head of a clown."
Oh, wonderful. Our next reader is Susan Balak from Newfoundland, New Jersey.
Thank you, Maria. Vibration. Where I stand, everything is dead and alive. The massive tree, expired, sinks into the earth like a person, returned to ashes and energy, pulling behind it, along with it, this dark clump of rock and root. And green leaves sprout from a young, slender tree, which is uprooted too, suspended sideways in midair like a balance beam, waiting for life to dance along its splintered edge. Everything is dead and alive, a crumpled Bud Light can, half a plastic flower pot, a driver on the road below, an airplane overhead, a golfer on the green. The vibration of a sculpture garden, rusted and sharp angles under blooms.
Wonderful. Let's welcome Stanley Barkin from Merrick, New York. And I saw your picture anyway, Stanley. I don't know if that's a video, but anyway, your face is there. Stanley, are you there? He was there a minute ago. Where did he go?
He's there, Maria. He has to unmute it.
Stanley, unmute yourself, dear. Do we have a way of getting to him? Stanley, unmute yourself.
I'm asking him, but I don't know if he's getting.
He was just here.
Yeah, he just turned off his video, but he's not unmuting it.
Stanley, you have to unmute yourself, darling. I'm glad to meet somebody else who knows less about technology than I do. Stanley? Okay, how about if we go back to Stanley after?
Yeah, why don't we go later? I mean,
All right, remind me though. Our next person is Craig Shorey, Springfield, Pennsylvania. Craig, would you read your poem, please? Is he there? No. Is he? Guys, help me. Is he there? All right, if he's not there, then missed your turn. David Cope. I know his name. I've corresponded with him, but I don't know what he looks like. David Cope, are you here? No. All right. Elise Chadwick, New York, New York. David Cope, by the way, is from Grenville, Michigan. Elise Chadwick, New York, New York.
Okay, I am here.
Good, wonderful.
Okay, this poem's called This Is a Body, and it's an ode to Sally. It's been a long afternoon of bubble blowing, chalk art, and racing in the pool. We are soggy and puckered, the soles of our feet scorched from our sprint on the porch floor. In the bathroom, still dripping, we peel off our suits, mine faded and baggy, where the elastic has started to dissolve. Hers, green and vibrant, sequined butterfly sparkling on her chest. We step into the shower together. Her 7-year-old body is lean and strong, her olive skin unblemished by sun or time, except for the tiny mole we call a beauty mark, barely visible on her left butt cheek. And there is not even a whisper of self-consciousness for this body that has never been shamed or humiliated, let down or deceived, threatened or violated, trampled or broken, cut open or stitched up, ignored as if invisible, or told it's ugly or too fat. This is a body pristine and pure that measures itself only against faint pencil marks scratched on a door frame. This is a body that wakens with laughter and unseen dreams that have a future. This is a body that every day jumps higher, hangs longer, and zooms faster, believing that helmets and knee pads are the only protection it needs.
Great. Wonderful. I see Stanley now. So Stanley, if you would unmute yourself and read your poem. I missed you before.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Something happened with the computer. What could I say?
Okay.
Poem is Why My Wife Likes Westerns for BB. It's not because she likes the Duke and his folksy two-gun ways, Pilgrim. And it's not because in the old Westerns how black and white hats meant good and bad. Nor was it because 2 rifle shots would bring down 6 or 7 Indians. And it isn't because she's fond of Sawahos or prairie dogs or longhorns. No, she just loves big mountains, mazes, canyons, and rock formations like those in Monument Valley. To my artist wife, these wide open landscapes are the great works of the great artist in the big sky.
Wonderful, Stanley. Beautiful. Perfect description of BB too. Our next reader is Helen Marie Casey from Sudbury, Massachusetts. Is she here? Helen Marie Casey? No. Okay. Onward. John Randolph Carter. Here or not? And he's from Los Alamitos, California. Kathleen Corcoran from Owings Mills, Maryland.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm glad to see you. Where are you?
Well, I disappeared. I was here and then I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Well, it doesn't matter. Just read your poem. I'm looking for you.
Okay. Grades, a teacher's lament. I created a sanctuary for my students and lined it with a tapestry of words, poems that whispered in deep night silence, restless to nestle in young minds and be reborn like first fire from a clash of stones or lightning flash. But they only wanted grades. I spread embroidered cloths of poetry before them, trimmed with sequins and jewels. Some picked and pulled the threads, then trampled over them, clamoring only for their grades. The history of the human heart, voices of those imprisoned or exiled, the cry of one who fell beside a road on some forced march and left a penciled plea for a moment of joy in a gray and broken world. In return, my students begged for grades. I set in motion elegies and odes beginning with an ancient fire, where a man wailed while out beyond wolves howled and hawks lurked over ceremonial bones. A woman halted by a lake to see the sunrise break through clouds, mouth open in eternal praise. But still they demanded grades. I gave them the words of lovers, poetry of flesh and spirit joined, where the never-ending voice of Orpheus singing of lost Eurydice makes forests weep and birds stop in mid-flight to listen. Yet, like maenads demented, crazed, they screamed for grades. After crowning them with garlands of words and images, the sweet surprise of metaphors, then leading the iambic march with a dance of the anapaests, they forgot my name. When we passed in darkened corridors, in shopping malls, or on the boulevards at dusk, they looked away or frowned in discontent, calling not a poem, not a word, just one letter, that single final grade.
Very good. Anybody who's been a teacher knows that one. Patricia Carrigan, Brooklyn, New York. Patricia, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, darling.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Dance with me. Ragamuffin, the one-eyed stuffed cat, her best friend and dance partner since the age of 3. Always there when she cried, always there for a hug, always danced with her whenever the music played on the old transistor radio. But Daddy knew best, and Mommy said nothing when she had to say goodbye to the one-eyed stuffed cat. Ragamuffin lost his eye after she washed his fur. Without an eye, he appeared to be winking. His worn-out fur knew her 1,000 caresses, her 1,000 cuddles. The music played again on the old transistor radio. Her partner still winked as they waltzed to Benny King. But Daddy knew best, and Mommy said nothing. Her family was moving uptown. No storage for outgrown clothes and toys. No room for a worn-out tabby with one glass eye. The Drifters sang Dance With Me on the old transistor radio. She held him closer and closer, tighter and tighter, danced with him until the song ended, said goodbye with a pink lipstick stain next to his missing eye. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm sorry, next is Barbara Daniels, Sickler, I hope I'm right, Sicklerville, New Jersey. Barbara, I'm sure I saw you.
Thank you. All my stories. You know how I feel about Esther, Jimmy Peterson said. So I went to prom with another boy, dumped by Jimmy onto Howard Sterling. I'm naming names here. I married a Presbyterian minister. He never changed our name, Eitan Bogard, though he promised he would. Explosion, city school bursting, my room by the boiler, split open. My students ran. Death was gold light, floating plaster, and a surprise, a powerful rush of pleasure, a flood of chemicals. It took years to find a new husband, David Daniels. Angela Vado found my cancer. 6 more weeks and I'd have been dead. She'd been thinking of giving up medicine, mine the first life she saved. The next time, sepsis. A nurse yelled, "This isn't possible," me on a gurney. Where's the gold light? I wondered. Where's that feeling of perfect joy?
Wonderful, Barbara. Beautiful poem. Next, we have Daniel Donaghy from Willington, Connecticut, and he also is the editor of Here magazine, and you should get a copy because it's really good. Daniel?
Our back alley, no wider than a nun's yardstick, disappeared midsummer within weed fields at either end where houses had been knocked down. It led past smashed lamplights to Jasper Street and Ann's Corner Store with its freezer of push pops and king cones, and the cooler that chilled my Mountain Dews and the twirling soft pretzels I ran home with so my father and I could eat them hot. It led across the street from Ann's to Felix's bar and around the corner to our neighborhood water ice stand, famous Italian ices and its 48 outrageous flavors. It led to the lot where we caught grasshoppers and praying mantises and stab-libbed Maxwell jars, and where we piled wet fused newspapers and stomped cans we'd haul on our bikes to sell at Westmoreland Recycling. It led to the wooden back fence of the Oakdale Street abandoned house, where older kids crowbarred the city's sheet metal from its doorframe and showed us their father's magazines and the bare stained mattress they said they brought their girlfriends to. It gave our family a new cat nearly every year. It reeked of urine. It hit us when we threw snowballs at cops. It turned into a creek when it rained, streamed maggots and branch sticks and crushed styrofoam cups past our small identical yards, grills and kiddie pools and spider plants leaning toward afternoon sun. It needed shadows from an unbroken line of fences and lost itself after the Oakdale Street house came down, and others next to it lost its angry ghosts, its prostitutes and singers and sorrowful lovers calling up to back windows begging for one more chance. It held us by the collar once, said switchblades and blackjacks, said steal, but never from each other, and act crazy until you feel crazy. And if you die young, you die, but you'll go out knowing you never took crap from nobody. Then it gave way to the light, and some of us saw other ways out.
Wonderful, wonderful, as usual, Daniel. Our next reader is David A. Diaz, and he's from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm not sure I see him. Are you here, David? Yes or no? Your turn is fast evaporating. Okay. Then the next reader is Jen DiGregorio from Binghamton, New York, and also in the PhD program at Binghamton. Jen DiGregorio, Binghamton, New York. I know I saw her.
I'm here. Hi. Instinct. Instinct. When I was 9, I liked to take the sheets off my bed and play nest. I would throw all my toys in there, sit on them, or tear them to pieces. I knew some birds killed smaller things, raptors, birds of prey. In 4th grade, we took a bus to Raptor Trust, watched an owl cling to a man's black leather glove, spin its head as if the sight of us pained it. The next day, we dissected owl pellets, used tweezers to pull out bones from the soft cocoons, and had to reassemble them with glue. Skeletons of digested rodents on sheets of construction paper while our teacher watched. Later, she displayed our work around the room, taped it to walls, so the fleshless mice, chipmunks, rats seemed to parade around our desks. Looking at them, I became, for the first time, made of parts. My hand taking notes, a contraption, intricate claw. And my friends, too, could be taken apart. My teacher, less a teacher than a talking head, skull dolled up in curls, pink lips, that opened when she spoke, the black hole of her throat.
Powerful poem, Jen. Next is Nancy Dinsdale, San Diego, California.
As if by some enchantment, for miles above looking down, nothing is familiar. Streets unravel like nylon threads in the summer heat. Trees quiver like insect wings stranded on the ground. The sledding hill that seems so steep, a mound of scuffed dirt. Where is the purple loosestrife that always bloomed late summer? The cattail swamp we look for frogs, and the meadow we chased fireflies. I want to collect all these places, hold them like a piece of amber, keeping safe what used to be.
Nancy, very beautiful, thank you. Joseph Elder, Binghamton, New York. Joseph, are you there? I don't know what you look like, Joseph, so I'll try to find you.
Yeah, he's there, Maria.
Where? Well, wherever you are, Joseph. Oh, I see you now.
I can't.
Unmute yourself, dear.
I'm unmuted, I think. Can you hear me?
Now you're unmuted. Okay, read your poem, please.
No thought of angels. Then in my 13th year, I had no thought of angels or even of God as I walked to church that morning, there to serve first mass at the altar of St. Francis of Assisi. It was April, still chilly, patches of snow holding out in the deeper woods. No one up and about yet. At least the light was no longer winter bleak. Spring was beginning to churn by Glover's Creek, where marsh marigolds mirrored the sun, and red-winged blackbirds telegraphed their abrasive love songs. It was only birds on my mind that morning, as often they were in my youth, anticipation of orioles returning to nest in the high elms, of warblers teeming in the willows by Stanley Pond, of the wood thrush's unworldly song. When something touched my shoulder, as if a stray leaf had alighted there, or if someone had tapped just once, ever so gently, to gain my attention. The robin perched there, weightless, for just a moment, its head twitching in tiny motion, its dark animal eye inches from mine, yet inscrutable, while I held my breath in wonder to have been so acknowledged as I approached his house. He, it was said, who knew the language of birds, who preached to them, and I, merely a boy who arose before dawn to mumble Latin by rote at his altar, a boy who knew little of saints, if something of swallows, and only this of angels, that what they shared with birds was wings.
Beautiful, honey. Very beautiful. Thank you. Our next reader is, I don't have COVID, I have allergies, so I have to have a drink of water. Our next reader is Judith A. Bryce from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Judy?
Okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
here. Can you see me?
You're there somewhere. I saw you a minute ago.
I'm here. I'm here. Didn't go away. Can you see me?
I saw you 2 minutes ago and now I can't find you.
I'm waving.
Here she is.
I'm waving. I'm
Go ahead.
waving.
We see
Can
you.
you-
All right, go ahead.
Okay, great. Go ahead, honey.
The poem is entitled Kavanaugh's First Day on the Supreme Court, October 9, 2018. And it starts with an epigraph. Red sky at night, sailors' delight. Red sky at morn, sailors take warn. This is an ancient mariner's rhyme. Today, I simmer red, Rothko red, and I can't help my rage, how it seeps from every pore, from all protest and plea to canvas a gone and broken world. This morning, the ochre sun awoke her flock, and they forgot how to fly. Witnessed only an auburn sun, awry in a shattered, now marooned and vacant, vapid sky. Its pall of paint oozing ox blood, oozing rust and tears to seep into each blinking, panicked eye. Now, early day, like sailors cast helpless at sea in waves that heave to battering wake, we all rise to russet clouds of wind, watch for warning clues to come.
Wonderful, honey. Thank you. Next is Kate Griffin Flaherty from Boston, Massachusetts. Kate here.
I'm here.
You're there? Okay. Would you read your poem, please?
It's called Harsh Reality Blues. The words people choose to use are the colors they feel. In England, Big Ben has fallen silent, maybe due to Brexit. Soon the Taj Mahal, symbol of eternal love, may start to crumble, and monkeys will stop assaulting tourists, and all hell will break loose. And who am I to say that anything is true when the village now has its idiot back and he no longer seems like an idiot? Hakuna Matata? I think not, but who am I to say? Can no one trust anyone anymore? My glasses are blue tinged. The statue in the harbor between New Jersey and New York covers her eyes, and children run from evil gnomes everywhere. And who am I to say if anything is true? Words change back and forth in an instant, and their meanings skitter around the floor like dropped marbles. The icons of an earlier age are shortified by emoticons, and nothing seems real but our own selfish needs. And the world is all around us, choking life. And has our middle name always been Greed? And who am I to say if anything is true?
Wonderful. Tough times. Next is Robert Philman, Macungie, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
You there?
Yep. This.
Oh, there you are, honey. Okay.
This poem is called For Snowflake. Here I am again, elbows propped on the cold kitchen tile, trying to scoop up the chunks of slimy chicken, lifting the spoon, hoping the kitten will eat this time, at least slurp some of the gravy that is puddled in his bowl. It's my son's 3-month-old cat, the one he woke to Christmas morning, snuggled with every night since, carried in his arms, held close to his heart, the one the vet warned was not growing the way it ought, not gaining any weight because it probably had a liver shunt, couldn't filter toxins from its blood. Here I am again, my nose inches above the stinking meat, tears flashing in my eyes when I think of the scraggly gray thing dying in my arms, the soft, ragged part of me that will die too when I break the news to my son. Those words prowling closer and closer, stopping only to preen and stare at me unblinkingly. Thank you.
Beautiful, Robert. Thank you. Next is Deborah Garish from Murray Hill. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Next is David Giannini's from Beckett, Massachusetts. David, are you there? David? No, not there. Okay. Then the next is Deborah Garish, Murray Hill, New Jersey.
What I can't explain. This morning, I searched for my mother, though 24 years since her passing. I step inside the family house, breathe in the roasting lamb, inhale fennel and seams of drapes, coriander like perfume in the woven Persian rugs. I visit her kitchen, clanking kettles and copper pans, search the bedroom, scented closet, chiffon dresses, wool sweaters, scan her bookcase, ponder poems she loved, but cannot find her. I'm looking for my mother, magnolia tree in our long ago backyard, its wide arms, its tender petals scattered like words of silver. I wait, listen, then nuzzle there.
Wonderful, very good. Next is Josie Gaiusi from Accra, Ghana, West Africa. And I want to say a particular hi to Joseph. You pop up on my Facebook page picture, the two of us sitting in Calabria when I did that workshop there. And every once in a while, when I go on Facebook, there you are sitting with me in Calabria. And I wish we could be back there now. How are you, Joseph?
I'm fine, Mom. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Would you read your poem?
Please, can I be here?
What,
okay.
Dear?
All right. Emptiness. My father and mother. Can I be heard, please?
Yes, you can be heard.
All right. Emptiness. My father and mother divorced long before I learned to speak. In the absence of my father, my uncle was a surrogate all my life. We lived in the town of Efidiase in my grandmother's house. My father and mother were both in the city of Accra. In the city, they lived separate lives. My father, a building contractor, my mother, a trader. I remember one Christmas Eve when grandmother sent Uncle Sachimo to my father. He returned empty-handed. My childhood was such emptiness. Emptiness, I mean. Grandmother is with God. This she told me to tell anyone who asked about her after she is long gone. We were like that, me and my grandmother. She told me things like that. I, too, told her everything about me, including secrets. Secrets like the first time a girl snapped me for saying that I loved her. Her death remains a mystery to me. A week before she passed away, my uncle took me to the city and put me in a boarding school. I was far away from my grandmother. My uncle used to argue that I would become a girl if I stayed long with her. At my new school at St. John's Preparatory, I had no friends. I was always by myself. I barely smiled at anyone in class. Nobody understood why. Sabute, the strongest in class, often teased me that I feared girls. I did not mind him. I always felt happy being quiet. Loneliness was the only means I communicated with my dead grandmother. She was all I could think of, even in class.
I love you, Josie. You're a wonderful poet.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again. I hope you keep writing. Next,
Thank you.
Jonathan Greenhouse from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Hello, I'm ready to read the poem. Can you hear me?
Yeah, where are you, honey, though? I saw you 2 minutes ago.
Right here.
Okay, just a minute. Let me scroll this so I can find you. Oh, there you are, honey. Okay.
Dear Mom, I apologize for writing so cavalierly of your death, especially while you're currently residing in Clifton. I'm not always tactful with the living, have been known to inadvertently smile when learning of someone's passing. At dinner last Wednesday, I marveled at your gray hair magically grown back post-chemo, post-radiation. How much time should pass before regretting what we haven't said? Even in life, I don't talk to you like this, maybe never will. You've been the perfect mother for me, or maybe you haven't, but how would I know? You're all I get, the lone lioness grasping her cubs by the neck, feeding them stories of the dead, of tales of great Uncle Ben succumbing to sleeping sickness from his explorer days in Africa, of your cousin Scott as Jesus, converting all the water into Manischewitz wine. What more could I ask for? You've always been more pal than mother, more mirror than teacher of manners, less a set of norms than a consummate rebellious figure. I've suffered little because of you, have been spared a slate of psychologists treating me for a mother's smothering. So I hope this letter finds you well, but most of all, I hope it finds you. Wish you'll read it before becoming yet another tale I'll tell to those who'll never meet you.
Wonderful, Jonathan. Joan Cusack Handler, are you there, honey? Brooklyn, New York. Joan? No? Okay. Walt Hunter? Yes or no? Walt Hunter? I feel like I'm yelling into the wilderness. William Heath? I've done this to people too, where I say I'm going to be at a meeting and I forget it. So I understand. Fred Ayuchi, I know I saw you before, so I know you're here.
Okay, I'm here. Secondhand clothes. My father wanted me to wear my Uncle Joe's shoes after he died. I was 14 years old and a freshman in high school. The last thing I wanted to do was wear shoes that belonged to a dead uncle I hardly knew, but to whom I was often compared. I was so tired of hearing, "You're just like your Uncle Joe," and now I was being ordered to wear his shoes. In my mind, they were old man shoes, and they were brown. I could hear Frank Zappa singing in my head, "Brown shoes, don't make it." They were a dead man's shoes, and they were brown, and nobody in my age group would be caught dead wearing them. My father tried to convince me how great they were, how expensive and stylish they were, but I wanted no part of them. As far as I was concerned, they were old fart shoes, dead uncle's shoes, and I wasn't wearing them. Wingtips with lots of eyelets in the front and on the sides. No 14-year-old boy would wear these in 1967. So they stayed buried at the bottom of the sliding door closet in the porch of our house in Queens Village. Every so often, my father would ask me when I was going to wear them. My answer was always the same, never. This was just one of my father's many disappointments about me. I told my mother to get rid of Uncle Joe's shoes, but she replied that I should just listen to my father and wear them because they were good shoes and they were expensive. I believed that they were still sitting at the bottom of the sliding door closet in the porch in the house in Queens Village when I moved to Michigan in 1974, and still there 6 years later when they sold the house to move to Whiting, New Jersey. I laughed out loud when my younger son, Danny, declared at the age of 7 that he would no longer wear his brother Vinny's hand-me-downs, and that I should no longer accept pants from my colleague Miriam, who would give me beautiful pairs of Dockers and corduroys her son Yonatan had outgrown. A few years later, when he was visiting my school for a day, he noticed a pile of clothing at the back of my classroom. "You don't bring those clothes home for us to wear, do you?" he asked. Busted. As a single parent at the end of each school year, after a careful inspection of all the clothing that was left behind, I proudly took home whatever I thought would fit them. After 2 or 3 washes, I deemed them wearable and worked the garments into their clothing rotation, presenting them as new. Vinny and Danny, please forgive me, but at least I made you wear things that belong to the living. I never asked that you wear dead uncle's shoes or anything else that belonged to dead people, at least as far as I know.
I love you, Frank. Okay, thanks. Next is Jason Irwin, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Is Jason here? Am I missing? Is Jason missing in action? Okay, if I don't hear a voice, I'm assuming you're not there. Thaddeus Rutkowski, New York, New York, and I think I saw you.
I'm here.
Where are you, honey?
I don't know where I am on the screen, but
oh, I see you.
I'm here. Okay. This is called beef brisket. I tell my mother, my wife made a beef brisket for Passover, but my mother can't hear what I'm saying. East birthday? She asks. No, I say, beef brisket. Spell it. Does it start with an E? No, it starts with a B. It's a food. Beast birthday? Is it an animal? Yes, beef. Beast? No, I can't hear you. All I can hear are birds chirping. Where are you? On a bench outside. Can you hear the birds? No, I say. My hearing aid is turned all the way up. All I can hear are the birds. Thanks.
Wonderful. You captured that for sure. Okay, now I passed some people who were not there. So if you've turned up, please let me know you're there and I'll have you read. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you all for being with us today. I love the reading. I loved your poems. I love my own magazine. And I'm really proud to have published you guys. It was a very strong reading and it was really a great joy for me to hear it. And I loved reading Laura's poem, although I know I didn't do it justice. And I look forward to a time when she can come back and read her own poem. Thank you all for being here. And we'll have the second session of this on March 20th. Thanks,
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Bye.
Thank you.
Let's clap
Thank
for
you so much.
everybody. Okay,
Hi, everyone.
Maria.
Maria.
Sounds on.
Thank you so
Maria.
much.
Right.
Everyone.
Thank you.
You all. Dog is even speaking.
Hi, Claire's dog.
That dog is unhappy.
Can hear my dog.
Yeah, I can hear him. Goodbye, guys. It's really good to see all of you.
Bye,
Some of you
Ciao.
I've
Maria.
never seen before.
Bye,
Some
everyone.
have been at other PLR readings at the Hamilton Club. And hopefully if this pandemic ever ends, we can have readings in person again. This is wonderful because we're able to have people from very far away. But I do love in-person readings, and I'm beginning to get agoraphobic. I love being around people, and I can't quite take this. This is really difficult. I don't know how you're faring, but I'm not faring too well. So I'll see you all soon, hopefully back at the Hamilton Club, my beautiful Hamilton Club. Look, here's the front cover is Mark Hillringhouse's picture of the Hamilton Club. And
Nice.
so I hope we'll be back there soon. Love you all, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Maria.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Bye, Jane. Love seeing you, honey.
Oh, I'm so happy to have seen you. And even when the new readings start up again, I wish there were some way that we could still connect so I could just see you and hear you.
Well, we're going to be live streaming the readings. We'll be live streaming all the readings because this has opened the door for me. I don't like technology all that much, but I realize that this makes the reading, these things make the readings accessible to so many more people. So from now on, we will live stream the readings, and we may even do some Zoom workshops, although I don't like them as much as in person. But to open them to more people from around the world, we can do that.
Including me from Ghana.
Of course, including you.
Yeah.
So good, Josie. Very good to see you.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Love you all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Be well,
everybody.
Maria.
Bye.
Bye. May we all have a better year than last year.